Hi guys, happy Wednesday. I loved our Zoom session this morning. If you were in there, I loved seeing you guys. If you were not in there, join us. Every Wednesday we are Zooming at noon, both classes. It's a chance to hang out with your teachers. Yeah, it's fun. I loved seeing your faces. Today we are on to chapter 19. We are back to Pax. Last we left Pax. It was very sad. Gray just passed away. Yeah, it was a very deep chapter. So we're going to move on today to chapter 19 and see what happens now with Pax. Chapter 19. Bristle had started out after Pax, but his long bounds had outpaced hers, and he had run hard all through the night, all through the morning. He had not sensed her presence for hours when he reached the river in front of the mill in the afternoon. He slipped silently into a stand of green reeds, downstream from where Gray's body rested. He dipped his head to drink. When his thirst was slaked, he pushed the reeds aside. The field was empty. The vehicles were gone. There was no sign of the humans, but their scents were fresh and even sharper than before. They were nearby, and they were anxious. Pax climbed upstream and crossed the river at the Narrows, then hurried along the tread ridge to observe the sight from above. New gouges raked across a hillside behind the mill ruins. Like a skulk of foxes taking to its dens, the soldiers had retreated to their trenches, a few still digging, others working on equipment, still others talking together over charts. The vehicles rested behind the walls also. Pax retraced his steps back along the ridge, back across the river, back downstream. Again he slipped into the reeds, and looking up from there, he saw no humans this time either. The dark electric scent hung heavy in the air. The wind eddied, bearing smoke from the west. He'd smelled it twice on his way, but now it was thicker, more dangerous, closer. Pax could not wait until the safety of night. He dived into the water and swam with only his sleek head above its surface, climbed the bank and shook the water from his fur. Keeping low, he headed for the closest cover, a scrub oak skirted with new suckers at its base, just a few full bounds away. From there, he sighted the advantage he needed. Midway down from the mill walls, where the field began to flatten out, a purple granite slab shouldered out of the ground. A bundle of wires trailed over this outcrop before dropping back into the grass. Pax crept out. His paws sensed a threat from the ground. More boxes were buried near the bank, the field crossed with more wires. Leaping clear of the wires, he skimmed the grasses so swiftly that they barely parted. At the base of the slab, he flattened himself and perked his ears uphill. By the steady rhythms of their voices and tools, he knew that the soldiers had not moved from the trenches. The breeze was still downhill. It would alert him if they approached. He pulled a wire out and began to gnaw at it. Before he chewed through the sheathing, a flurry of teeth attacked him from behind. He bit the rock hard. The wind knocked out of him. He rolled to his feet and saw Bristle leap over him to the crest of the slab. From that height, she held the advantage. The crows say warsick humans are nearing. This exploding earth, these death wires. Leave this for them to find. Pax was larger than Bristle, but he was no match for her determination. Every time he attempted to reclaim his position at the wire, her snapping jaws held him away. He circled the outcrop, climbing closer to the mill than he liked, to come at her from above. But before he could pounce, a movement down at the river caught his eye. Bristle noted his alarm, but kept her gaze locked on Pax. The humans have arrived? Pax sensed an eager thrill below the question. No, another fox, I think. Bristle refused to be distracted. No fox from our valley would venture past the territory boundary. Pax rose on his haunches for a clearer view. He saw it again, a narrow copper wedge tipped with white that rose and disappeared, running beside the riverbank along exactly the path he had taken earlier, the same path Bristle must have tracked to find him. At the reeds, another red flash. A small fox splashed into the water, and Pax recognized him. He shrieked a warning. Bristle turned to look then. Runt struggled out of the water beside the scrub oak. Instantly, Bristle sprang up, seeming to double in size. In a single leap, she cleared the ledge and then flew down the slope. No, back! Home! Back! She flashed through the grasses. The panic in her voice only seemed to spur Runt on. He rose again to get her position, and then loped in joyful bounds towards her. Pax pounced on the wire, but he was too late. Just as he stripped off its sheathing, a dark odor of lightning blew through the earth. A jolt of current shattered one of his back teeth. It seared his bottom lip, scorched his throat, and sizzled down his spine. And then a swath of lower field exploded into the sky. Pax was knocked off the ledge, and when he hit solid ground again, Tangled in uprooted shrubbery, the broken world went silent. His skull rang in the silence, and he watched shock still as the storm of hot dirt and rocks and branches and weeds rained down upon him and then wasted itself to a veil of grit. He staggered to his feet and sucked the burned air into his flattened lungs until his head cleared. Then he rose on his haunches to sniff for Runt and Bristle. He tried for them in all directions, but his nose was useless, the fine scenting nerves numbed by ash and soot. He barked for them, but the ringing in his ears was still the only sound he heard. Pax worked his way out of the pile of brush and shook off the debris. Soldiers streamed down the hills across a smoking patch of field and then plunged into the river. When they had passed, he followed. Each movement sent aftershocks through his bones. Where he had last seen them, he called again for Runt and Bristle. There was no answer, but faintly at first, as if they were reaching his ears from a great distance away, he heard his own barks. And then the sound of the wind and the snapping of seared weed stalks as he crashed through them, and the rough shouts of the Warsick men as they returned to the trenches. And from the trees, a murder of crows, calling their displeasure at the ruined world. Pax could hear again. For an hour he paced the field, calling for the missing foxes. Dusk fell before he finally heard it. Bristle's weak answering yelp. He followed the call to the river's edge. There, the scrub oak was lying splintered and smoking over the bank, its blackened branches in the water. Pax found Bristle tucked into the earth ball of its roots. Her head was up and her eyes were alert, although her muzzle was matted with blood. The fur of her beautiful brush was burned to a black crust. Pax nosed her face. The blood on her cheeks was not hers. She dropped her head. Curled beneath her was the still body of Runt. Pax dipped his head to the little fox's chest. It rose and fell in ragged hitches, and Pax was relieved. But then Bristle shifted and he saw where Runt's hind leg should have been, where the neat black furred leg and the quick white paw should have been, there was only a shredded red mess on the blood-soaked leaves. Oh. Oh, guys. I can't read sad things about animals. This affects me. That is so sad. I thought he was dead. It sounds like Runt is in bad shape. He's lost his leg. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if he's going to survive that. This is really sad. The Pax chapters are making me very sad. Whew. Poor thing, he was so happy to see them. That's really sad. Man, guys, what do you think? Leave your comments in the... I'm sorry. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm flustered. It better not get any more sad than this, y'all. I cannot take it. Whoo-wee. Okay, guys. I'm going to end it there. We come back tomorrow, Thursday, chapter 20 for Peter. Hopefully it gives us a break because I cannot do this again tomorrow. I love you guys. Stay safe. Do your work. Be nice to your family. Wash your hands. Love you. Miss you. See you tomorrow.